Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is Chance Ball, Chapter 3, and this one is titled Support. Nah, you thought as you shook your head. Who would honestly ever fall for that guy? He's hopeless. Tuesday's tutor class came and went, and Dabi never showed. After the lesson, you texted him. Oi, where were you today? You smashed out in text, whacking the buttons angrily as you headed for the school gates. A reply came back instantly. Volleyball practice, he wrote. Why, you missed me? Never, jackass, you responded, snorting out loud as you replied. You deviated from your line to the school gates and made your way to the boys' volleyball courts instead, entering through the back door and posting yourself up in the stands but keeping out of sight. You could hear Dabi talking to his teammates, so you waited. Your phone dinged loudly. Ah, damn it, you wailed internally, flicking it to silent as you checked the message. It was Dabi again. I know you're here. Then a second later, just heard your phone ding, doofus. You replied. Well, how did you know I was here, apart from the phone dinging? I saw the door at the back of the stands open. I didn't see you, but I figured you were ducking down because you didn't want me to know that you had come to watch me play because you like me. I do not like you. You're a pain, you replied. I love you too, he replied. You popped your head up over the stand chairs and noted, regrettably, that he was staring directly at you. Yo, libero, he yelled. If I get 5 spikes in a row, go out with me. Never in 1,000 years, you hollered back, head only just visible over the stand wall. He laughed and turned to join his teammates on his side of the net. You watched him play. He was a fast mover and good at making split-second decisions. When he was focused on the game, he looked that little bit more attractive to you. You could never tire of watching him in motion. As he successfully nailed the 5th consecutive spike, he roared with enthusiasm, turning to face you in the stands. Go on a date with me after practice, he yelled at you, sweat beading on his skin. Ugh, guess I better, you hollered back at him. Otherwise you'll cry like a baby if I don't. His teammates snorted at your response, but Dabi didn't care. He was on a high. After practice, you waited for him at the gates. He had the stupidest big grin on his face that you'd ever seen. Why are you so happy? You questioned him, eyeing him suspiciously. Because you agreed to date me, he said with a giant grin. Whoa, hold up, big boy. I only said that I'd go out with you after practice. Don't get ahead of yourself, you said, reaching up and flicking him on the forehead. He looked crestfallen. Ah, damn. Guess I'll take this small win and just keep wearing you down till you agree to be my girl. Not gonna happen, you replied curtly as you dabbed. Bro, seriously? He said, depressed that you were still doing that stupid move. You cackled and ran ahead of him. Hey, but can you help me? You yelled back at him, turning around and walking backwards. With what? He asked, eyeing you as he sauntered along behind you. With volleyball practice, you said as you continued to walk backwards. Yeah, okay, what do you need? He asked. I've got a game coming up against the girls of Alba Josai, and I need to get some extra practice in, so I am sharp for the match, he replied. Okay, let's practice tomorrow, he said with a grin. Keep your arms low when you go for the deep receive, Dabi coached from the other side of the net the next day as you two were practicing. He was serving and you were diving and receiving his hits. Unsurprisingly, he had you running from one side of the court to the other, and your sides were heaving. Once again, he threw the ball up and jumped, sending it flying across to you. You got under it and returned it to the furthest point away from Dabi, watching as he sprinted for it and dived, only just getting his arm under it before sending it hurling back to you, doing a forward roll at the end and jumping up to get back onto the court. You received the ball again and sent it to the opposite corner again. He jumped at it but missed. Yeah! You hollered, jumping up and down in victory. He collapsed onto all fours, defeated. Good work, he panted, flashing you an award-winning smile. Thanks, you replied, your hands falling to your knees as you bent over with exhaustion, gasping for air. Where'd you learn to receive like that? You quizzed him. I've been practicing in more areas to broaden my skill set, he replied nonchalantly. I need more work with setting, though, he added as he got up and wiped sweat from his brow. You want me to be a tosser? You asked, a cheeky smile on your face. Setter, he corrected. No, tosser. That name suits you better in that position, you replied with a chuckle, shooting him a devilish smile. Why are you so mean to me? He asked, pretending to be hurt. Because you love it, that's why, you replied, turning to go and get your towel. Oh, so you're thinking of the things I like then? Sounds like you got a crush, he sneered. You threw your towel at his face. Fast forward to match day against Alba Josai. It was the third and final set. Alba had just won the first set and Nekoma girls had won the second. This was the decider and your team was in the lead. It was match point 22-24. You and your team just needed one more point to win. Alba was serving. The girl serving was a strong hitter, but you were ready for her. She threw the ball up and jumped, smacking her palm into it and making it fly across the net to one of your teammates, who you knew was bad at receiving. Alba must be figuring out that she's our weak point, you thought as your body started to move. You threw yourself across the floor to get the ball and rotated your body as you reached out for it, doing your best to avoid colliding with your teammate in the process. Thankfully, she had stepped back slightly to give you room, and you connected heavily with the ball and hit it high, screaming for your setter to go get it. As you landed, your wrist hit the hard wooden floorboards and you tucked yourself into a ball to soften the impact, but the damage had already been done. You sprang back up and got back onto the court as quickly as possible as your team's wing spiker slammed the ball down on the opposite side of the net, bringing the game to an end. You cheered triumphantly, but then immediately clutched your wrist. It was throbbing. As the game wrapped up, the officials gave their speeches and formalities ended. You hugged your girls in celebration and then headed to the change rooms. As you were talking with them and walking down the hall, someone caught your eye. Dabi? He was leaning up against the hall wall waiting for you. What are you doing here? You asked as you approached him. He had his head lowered and didn't look at you. You okay? You asked, ducking your head down to try and look him in the eye. I should be asking you that. He shot, jerking his head up, turquoise eyes meeting yours sharply. Well, I'm fine, we won, you said excitedly. You turned to walk away, and he grabbed you by the arm and spun you around, slamming you back first up against the hall wall. Dabi, what do you do? Take your shirt off, he said in a low voice, blocking you in by placing his arms either side of your head. Excuse me? You yelped in surprise, swinging your arm to punch him. He grabbed your wrist and you winced, a small whimper escaping your lips. You're hurt. Why didn't you go to the nurse's office? He said, slightly annoyed. I'm fine. He gave your wrist another gentle squeeze and you yelped again. Come, he said, letting go of your wrist and scooping you up in his arms. Idiot, put me down, I can walk, you yelled frantically. He ignored your pleas and carried you to the nurse's office. A few days later, Dabi came sprinting up to you in the school hall. Hey, look, he said excitedly, shoving a piece of paper into your hand. What's this? You asked, turning the paper over so you could see what it was. It was his algebra test. He got a B. All right, you shrieked, giving him a high five. All thanks to my hot teacher, he beamed, winking at you. Stop it, you dummy, you retorted, playfully shoving him. Hey, watch your wrist, he said, carefully taking it in hand. How's it feeling? It's fine, you replied with a shrug. It's no big deal, dude, don't make such a fuss. I need to take care of this wrist, because one day I'll be wrapped around my thick, hard cock. Stop right there! Do not say another word, you pervert! You hollered with embarrassment, drowning out his hearty laughter. Later that night, you were zoning out while lying on the couch when your phone rang. It was Dabi. Hey, what's up, jerkface? You greeted casually, throwing a piece of chocolate into your mouth. Hey, he said stiffly. Yo, you okay? You asked, sitting up, worried by his uncharacteristic greeting. Huh? Oh, yeah, I'm fine, he said mechanically. What's up? You asked curiously. Well, I got a big game coming up, he said, pausing slightly. Would you come and watch me? Ha! As if I would, he replied with a loud laugh, throwing another piece of chocolate in your mouth. There was silence on the other end. No, Yin, I'm serious, he said, softly after a long pause. I actually really want you there to support me. You half choked on your chocolate. Dabi, being sincere, what is this? You joked gently. Yeah, sure, I'll come. Are you okay, though? You sound a bit nervous. Yeah, it's just that I'm going up against Date Tech. They're a powerhouse school and we've never beat them before, he replied. His voice sounded so different. He sounded vulnerable. Yo, I've seen you play. You're amazing. You'll beat them for sure this time, you said encouragingly. Oh, so you think I'm amazing, huh? He leered. Date me then. Pfft, you're such an ass, he replied, laughing. Fast forward to the day of the Date Tech match. You made your way through the crowd to the rails of the stands. Peering over them, you saw Dabi and the rest of the team gearing up for the match. Yo, stupid, don't drop the ball, you yelled down to him. He looked back over his shoulder and up at you, and then smiled and looked back to his teammates. Hey boys, my lucky charms here, he yelled to them, loud enough for you to hear. We're going to smash Date Tech today. He looked back at you and kissed his fingers and then threw you the peace sign. You smiled and fake gagged, pretending to be put off by his flirtatious comment. Soon enough, the game started. Date Tech were fierce competitors and kept shutting down all of Dabi's spikes. He kept his head up though and fought earnestly, encouraging his teammates as he went. It was an intense match and you were on the edge of your seat the whole time. One of the opponents went to spike the ball, and you could see it was going to miss Nekoma's block, so instinctively you yelled out, "Left, Dabi!" you screamed from the stands. You saw his focus shift when he heard your voice, and he dived to the left, saving the ball and sending it back to his spiker before the spiker tossed it to him, and then he jumped up and slammed it down the opposite side of the net. You jumped up, screaming with excitement. Dabi looked up into the stands and gave you a huge smile while you clapped with the other spectators. From there it was a game changer. Nekoma fought every single round and ended up beating Date Tech 19-25. You were elated on Dabi's behalf and ran through the halls to find him after the game to congratulate him. As you caught sight of him from a distance, you smiled and were about to call out to him when you saw he was talking to a girl. You slowed and hid slightly, watching them talk. The girl was flipping her hair provocatively and leaning close to him. He looked like he was enjoying the attention, and a pain shot through your chest as you turned away, walking back to the stands to head out the door. You tried to decipher your feelings as you walked home. Why do I care if he's talking to another girl? You thought, furrowing your brows as you plodded home. Is it because I like him? Later that night, Dabi sent you a message asking where you went after the game. You ignored his text. He tried to call you, so you ignored that too. The next few days were awkward for the both of you. Dabi was trying extra hard to get your attention, and you were trying extra hard to ignore him. Finally, he cornered you one afternoon at your locker. "Hey, the bureau. Why are you dodging me?" he growled, pinning you up against the locker. "No reason, asshole. Leave me alone," you growled back, averting your eyes from his. "Fine," he snarled. "But the next season of My Hero Academia airs tonight. Come over to mine. We'll get pizza and watch it." Slowly, you let your eyes find his and you glared at him. You loved My Hero Academia, and he knew it. "Fine," you said finally, relaxing your expression. "Awesome," he said, relieved that you had agreed to come over. It's a fourth wall break. Stay tuned for chapter 4 coming tomorrow. I'll see you then.